Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to day number 8 of 100 videos in 100 days. So, we just wrapped up a core coaching call this morning and we did a bit of like a mastermind session talking about, sharing one takeaway, one thing that has helped you either generate some type of result online or help you have some type of breakthrough, whether that's like monetary or not. And something that we potentially got brought up was around imposter syndrome. So I kind of actually want to talk a little bit about that today. Like, what is it? Uh, and like, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Now, I have a polarizing opinion on imposter syndrome. Realistically, you will and you should always be running into challenges of imposter syndrome, feeling like potentially questioning yourself, potentially, getting nervous about different things. And I know it's not a sexy thing to think about. Like, you're telling me I'm going to start online entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship in general, and I'm going to be faced with doubts, questions, internal beliefs around not being qualified enough to do XYZ or whatever. And to flip some perspective on this exact topic is, why wouldn't you be feeling imposter syndrome? It's a good thing. If we look at it from a different type of lens, most of us weren't taught to be entrepreneurs, build businesses, push our boundaries, get uncomfortable, and do all this type of stuff. So naturally, why would we not feel imposter syndrome? I could even go as far as saying, like, if you're not feeling it, then you might not be doing enough in business, realistically. Now, this has come in different stages, different mediums, all throughout my life, right? I was raised in a family of dysfunction, addicts, drug and alcohol addicts, and abuse, domestic violence, and all that stuff. So the imposter syndrome, when I was younger, was around me actually living a normal life, checking boxes, going to like school, and doing all these things made me feel extremely weird because it wasn't the environment I was raised in. Whereas in the online space, there's been a myriad of times that I've faced imposter syndrome. Why would anybody listen to me, right? I'm just a regular guy, a below average Joe. And then I start having successes. You start to question yourself, like, why am I even qualified enough to be having this success? Or a big one that hit me in 2022 was, we help clients do millions in sales online. Like, who the fuck am I to actually have the knowledge or help somebody do anything online? I'm just a regular dude. And I think we need to do our best to separate our feelings from what we actually do inside of business. Because at the end of the day, if we end up living in our heads and we live in, I'm not good enough to do this, I'm not pretty enough to get on camera, why would anybody listen to me? And all of those creeping thoughts that we end up getting into our brains, our business will not flourish, right? We will not get to where we want to go because we end up crippling ourselves, stopping ourselves from showing up and doing the things. Been recently talking with a coaching client of ours. We worked with her for a very long time. We helped her do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars online. And they're currently in the process of potentially pivoting their business, right? They've helped a lot of people do a lot of this really cool stuff, and they've built this kind of authority around one industry or one space, but they're having the thoughts of blazing down a different path that's more fulfilling to them. It's kind of more aligned with what they want to do, and it really like sets their soul on fire. And one of the things that we've been talking about over the last few days is the fact that they're scared, that they're nervous, they're fearful. And my exact response is like, you were scared last time, right? Last time we helped you do this thing in business, you ended up turning around and doing hundreds of thousands of dollars online. You were scared then too. I was scared. I mean, I just posted a video this morning of my first video, right? Like, it's a natural thing to think about, but we have to do a better job at disconnecting from how we feel and the actions we actually take inside of our business. And then we can also bake in layers of transparency, right? If we're talking about, I think another thing is as far as like imposter syndrome, and I'm not telling anybody to go out there and lie about their results or anything. You don't have to be some qualified expert to start helping people. Like you 6 months ago is who you could help, right? And this is transferable to any niche, any industry, and this is also why we don't do any customer avatar exercises or niche or anything like that, because realistically, in your content and who you're optimizing to speak in your content would be a previous version of yourself. Think about you 6 months ago, 12 months ago, right? What have you went through in the last 12 months that has helped you get to where you are right now, right? And this will evolve and change as you change in your own business that you're running, right? When I was first starting, I was helping people just get started online, just learn how to, do XYZ. And I was doing all of this stuff that was very beginner, basic, friendly stuff. Whereas now I usually talk to someone who's a little bit further along. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe they've been trying to generate results because that's me, right? 6 months ago, I was already making a lot of money online. But the imposter syndrome has crept up and still does all the time. And I don't think it's necessarily ever going to go away. It's actually a good signal that you're kind of in the right path, if I'm being honest. Because if we feel imposter syndrome, that means we're attempting to make changes. We're attempting to get out of our comfort zone and push our boundaries and do new things, which then in turn will yield different results in our actual life, in our business, in our marriage, whatever. Um, you're only going to start feeling that when you're pushing your comforts, right? And if you guys want success, or you want a business, or you want to get better at something, or you want a different circumstance than what you have right now, that is going to require change on your end. So at the end of the day, I really think it's about shifting the perspective from, looking at imposter syndrome as a dirty thing or a bad thing, or, I know it's kind of creature of habit, right? We tend to gravitate towards our comforts and stuff like that. But personal development and growing as a person and, you know, changing as a human being is literally goes hand in hand with business. You can't have one without the other, right? You can't grow into a successful business owner if you don't grow as a person, right? The person that I was 7 years ago is a night and day completely different person than I was before I started my business. And I attribute a lot of that to pushing myself throughout my journey as being an entrepreneur, because without it, I wouldn't have been able to actually become a person of value, a person that is even would have the opportunity to have the successes that I have, if I didn't actually start pushing myself in the earlier stages, or pushing past the fear of, what if nobody listens to me? Like, why am I qualified enough to speak on this, or anything like that? I wouldn't have actually been able to get to where I am today if I didn't actually push past that boundary.